October is LGBTQ History Month, and a lot of history sits right here in the five boroughs, from Stonewall to one of the first ever Pride parades to some of the first non discrimination legislation. New York has been at the forefront of uplifting LGBTQ people. One man has made it his mission to offer this history lesson in an accessible and an affordable way. Michael Venturiello joins me now in studio. He is the founder of Christopher Street Tours. Michael, we appreciate you being here.
Thanks so much. It's great to be here.
Yeah, so start off by telling people who aren't familiar what your tours are all about.
Sure. So, Christopher Street Tours is an LGBTQ walking tour company whose mission is to share stories and uplift voices from those that paved the way before us.
And so, when did this all start and how did it start?
It started in 2018 after I had moved to the city and I was actually writing a book about the Stonewall Uprising, and I wanted to come on a tour to learn a little bit more about the history in the area, and was surprised that there wasn't really a tour that existed that was LGBTQ owned and that operated all year round and that was accessible and affordable. So that's when we started Christopher Street Tours.
Yeah, so you mentioned Stonewall. What type of other big landmarks, do people check out and learn about on these tours?
Sure. So it's a chronological tour starting in the 1950s and ending on present day. We do talk about Stonewall, but we also cover pre-Stonewall activism at Julius. We do talk about Stonewall, and then we move on to the Gay Liberation Monument, and we end at the LGBT Center.
What do you think people are most surprised by on your tours?
Ooh, there's so much history that exists, and I think people come to New York City wanting to see Stonewall. But I think what people are most surprised by is that this is still a living history, that it didn't just happen 53 years ago in 1969, but it's still happening today, and it still continues to happen, and that it's all relatively recent, and something that people can be a part of today.
Yeah, and so I know we kind of celebrate Pride in a very big way in June, but October we celebrate, the history. And I think it's really interesting that we do that because in June kids aren't in school. October, obviously, they are, and that's a big part of this as well. Is getting the message out to younger people.
That's right. So LGBTQ History Month in October was actually started by a school teacher, a high school teacher who wanted to share this history with his students. And at Christopher Street Tours, of course, we celebrate Pride today and every day, but to have a month in October where students can learn about it as well is really important.
And on that note, I know that your tours are free, correct, for young people? Is that true?
They are, yes. They're free for LGBTQ youth and K through 12 school groups.
And why was that so important to you to do that for them?
Yeah, this LGBTQ history is really not something that we learn about in K through 12 education. Even today on tours, I'll ask people if they've learned about it in their K through 12 schooling, and the majority of people have not. So to be able to provide that to LGBTQ youth, but students in general, K through 12 students, is a really important part of our mission so that they have access to that history, because history matters. It's their representation, it's their stories, and it's important.
And like you said, it is changing day to day, and it's part of the current climate, part of the current conversation. I'm sure your tours are very, culturally in line with so many discussions that we're having on a day-to-day basis right now.
That's right. Yeah, I think that's another thing that people feel so surprised by is the connection to this history that happened decades ago or hundreds of years ago, and how relevant it is to the conversations that we're having today. And I know for me, when I give tours, I hope that it's not just an educational session where people learn about what happened in the past, but almost a call to action where people can feel inspired and empowered by those that paved the way before us and continue in their footsteps.
And you do have some resources online. Tell me about that.
We do, yes. So during the pandemic, it was an opportunity for us to increase that access even more. So in addition to the tours that we offer in person, we also have a bunch of virtual resources that people can access to learn more about LGBTQ history, from books to articles and even videos and such, podcasts. So people can definitely take a look there to learn more.
Yeah, and people who want to check out the tour, go on the tour, where can they find out more information?
Yes, everything is online at ChristopherStreetTours.com. We're also on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok at Christopher Street Tours as well.
Michael Venturiello, thank you so much for coming in today. We appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. Thank you.